Do you guys remember Mercury, Pontiac, Saturn, Plymouth? Yeah, my dad does too. These were once flourishing brands that are now ancient history in the automotive world. And today, we're witnessing the next class of brands falling to the same fate. From declining sales to corporate mismanagement, the automotive graveyard is getting crowded. And these 5 brands need serious help, starting with number 5, Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi Motors was once synonymous with performance and innovation. Us enthusiasts, of course, fondly remember, the Lancer Evo, the 3000 GT, and the Eclipse. Fast and Furious, anybody? All 3 being some of the most innovative and legendary cars of all time. However, in recent years, Mitsubishi's presence, especially in the US, has diminished significantly. The company's lineup has contracted hard, with the Outlander being one of the few remaining models that people actually care about. And the discontinuation of the Mirage this year now further narrows its appeal. And combined with the shrinking dealership network, all of this has led to a decline in brand visibility and consumer confidence. Now, to try and stop its decline in sales in the US, Mitsubishi actually has made some strategic moves, like share buybacks, among other things. But despite trying everything, the brand's future remains uncertain, especially in competitive markets like North America. I mean, they are only selling between 80 and 100,000 units annually. Toyota does about twice that much in every single month. Yeah, think about that. Not good. Like, subscribe for more. Number 4, Chrysler. Now, this brand has been a cornerstone of the American automotive industry for nearly a century. They've had extremely successful family cars like the minivans, the 200 and 300 series cars, and countless others. But this year, Chrysler's lineup is dwindling, to say the least. When I say dwindled, I mean that there is literally one single Chrysler for sale today, the Pacifica minivan. So it's no shocker that they have struggled to compete in a market that's increasingly favoring SUVs and crossovers. Not to mention, their brand's parent company, Stellantis, has massive financial challenges, with a 27% drop in net revenues reported in the third quarter of last year. There are also leadership changes within Stellantis, including the planned retirement of CEO Carlos Tavares in 2026, and that makes Chrysler's future look even more uncertain. Number 3, Alfa Romeo. The struggle to reclaim past glory. Okay, on to the next with Alfa Romeo. Folks, this is a brand that started in 1910. I mean, that's over 100 years old. And unlike most of the brands here, their cars have always driven magnificently and sounded pretty good too. I mean, stuff like the 4C, the old Milan, and especially the modern Giulia are incredibly engaging cars. But if there's one thing that you can't praise about Italian cars, it is that reliability. Alfa is known for costing folks a lot in parts over the years and even more in labor costs. And as modern cars get even more and more reliable, Alfa stays in the past quite a lot, causing buyers to avoid them altogether, no matter how good their cars look. So much so that in the US, the brand reported a staggering 29% decline in year-over-year sales during the third quarter of last year. What's also telling is that this is a Stellantis-owned company. So yeah. And with the reports of the parent company reshuffling their brand lineup, we could see this one go to the way of the dodo. Great drivers' cars like Alfas are unfortunately just that. And unless they become more reliable and sell way more, they're in for some trouble. Number 2, Mini. Now, I bet you haven't thought about Mini for at least a year before this video, and though it makes me kind of sad, it's probably very true. I mean, they lost around 55% of their sales over the last decade in North America. In fact, they only sold about 26,000 total cars in all of last year. I mean, I hate to do the comparison with Toyota again, but bro, they sell that many Corollas every single month. Anyways, the brand's parent company, BMW, faces strategic decisions regarding Mini's position and future. The challenge lies in balancing the brand's heritage with contemporary market demands. And without a serious return to its roots or a compelling new direction, well, Mini risks going completely under. Number 1, Nissan. Okay, now it's time for Nissan. And there's been a lot of news about them recently. And they have some great mainstream offerings right now. The enthusiasts do have options like the GTR, which just went away to the dodo, and the Z. But that's kind of where it all stops. In the first half of last year's fiscal year, the company reported a consolidated net revenue of 5.98 trillion yen, a decrease of 79.1 billion yen from the previous year. Operating profits plummeted by 32.9 billion yen, representing a not so good operating margin of 0.5%. and global sale volume also declined, with 1.6 million units sold as increased sales incentives and inventory optimization efforts, particularly in the US, made things even worse. Nissan, they've done a ton of job cuts, production decreases, and the CEO even took a 50% salary cut to help with the company's finance, but they do have one final ace up their sleeve, the ARC plan. Yes, a huge company-wide redistribution of priorities and development that is essentially their last-ditch effort, especially since their giant merger with Honda, well, it just fell through. Okay, so that's 5 companies so far, but I want to give you a few extra that I consider to be one tier away from on the brink of death. And we'll start with Fiat. Fiat is one of those brands that technically still exists in America, but their lineup has been stripped down to almost nothing, and outside of a few niche buyers, nobody really cares about them anymore. I mean, they are barely hanging on. They axe the 500, the 124, the 500L, leaving just the 500X, a subcompact crossover that nobody really buys. I don't know anybody with one, do you? And even though the 500 is making a comeback as an EV, the fact that Stellantis is their parent company makes their comeback a lot less likely, at least in the near future. Also, Jaguar, a luxury brand without a plan. Yeah, Jag, baby. If you've ever seen a classic Jaguar, you know why this brand used to be a big deal. I mean, the E-Type is probably the most gorgeous car ever made, but this year, Jaguar literally is not producing cars. They're taking the year off from releasing new models like your coworker takes a smoke break. That's right, they're literally pushing production for an entire year while they try to figure out their next move. The reason? Well, Jaguar is planning a massive rebrand, focusing on ultra high-end EVs to compete with Bentley and Rolls-Royce. But is that really the right move? Jaguar has never really been a Bentley-level brand, and trying to move upmarket this late in the game feels kind of like a desperation play. On top of that, their parent company, JLR, is heavily prioritizing Land Rover, which actually sells pretty well. So at this point, Jaguar is running out of borrowed time. If their reinvention doesn't work, well, they could easily be absorbed by Land Rover or just fade away entirely. Then you have Maserati. This brand should be way more successful than it actually is. I mean, guys, on paper, they have everything going for them. Italian design, luxury craftsmanship, and history, building some of the coolest Grand Tours ever made. So, why is Maserati struggling so much? The biggest issue is that Maserati has never quite figured out what kind of brand it wants to be. Are they truly a Ferrari competitor? A slightly more premium Alfa Romeo? A budget Bentley? I mean, over the years, they've bounced between these identities without fully committing to any of them, and that has hurt their sales. The second problem, well, it's reliability. Much like Alfa, Maserati has long had a reputation for making beautiful but extremely unreliable cars. Owning a Maserati means expensive maintenance, frequent breakdowns, and a resale value that plummets the second you sign the lease. Right now, Maserati is still selling cars, but their future isn't exactly bright. Of course, there's still a chance Maserati could survive in a limited capacity, but if they don't get their act together soon, they might end up just another historic nameplate that didn't make it. So, final thoughts. A handful of historic car brands that are in dire need of an overhaul. Are they gonna survive? Maybe, but history has shown us that when brands start circling the drain like this, it's usually just a matter of time before they disappear entirely. So, what do you guys think? Are any of these brands worth saving, or is it just time to kind of let them go? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this vid, like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and check out these Ideal vids over here. I'm Brad, this is Ideal. We'll catch you next week, and promise you one thing, keep living the Ideal lifestyle.